Yes, yeah.
How much did you want to be shipped?
Yeah, yes, that personality.
All right, it's 6 o'clock.
Life.
We will call our workshop meeting to order. Everyone is here. The, first thing that, I would like Craig to talk about is number 3 on your list, the resolution for safe build. So, cause that's gonna be the consent agenda, so Craig, you wanna take that?
Maybe you want to ask about the minutes first? or-
Oh, yeah, anybody have a problem with that? That's kind of a rhetorical question. Okay, we're all good. Now you can go.
Okay, all right, so, we don't currently have anybody on our staff that is certified to do, elevation certificates or floodplain reviews and things like that, so, currently we're contracting with Safe Build to do our building inspections and everything. So this is just an addendum or amendment to our current agreement with Safe Build to allow for the use, for them to do the, elevation certificates and floodplain plan reviews. Otherwise, we have to send them to an engineer, which is probably more costly to go to the engineers than.
Yes.
Yeah, we had one recently came up and there were some issues and we had to send it over to HDR, so this would be more cost effective for us. And that's usually pass-through type costs, so it'll be more cost effective for whoever's doing the development also.
This is something we ever did before, or just the first time?
So in the past, we've had people on staff, Justin French was, could do the floodplain reviews and stuff like that. And we use engineers for the certificates, but right now we don't have anybody on staff that
Oh, okay.
can do it, so this will utilize Safe Build. Hope is when we get a new building official, if they're not already certified, we'll try to get them to the training, get them certified to do some of this. Now, the elevation certificates, that usually is not gonna be something staff will do. Okay, but we can review them, we just can't generate them, so.
Everybody okay with it?
Yeah, fees for this, will flow like, to the entertainment.
Pass.
I think this, I think doing it through this is you'd be part of plan review, or? I'm looking at David Harrell.
This'll, there's an application that we charge for floodplain permits that will go towards the charges for it. Will it cover all the charges? I don't think it will, but it's one of these things that the service is needed and it'll be more cost effective than sending it to HDR engineering firm right now.
We were doing it in-house for the longest time, but we're just not put it now to do that, so.
How much are the costs to an individual permit request to?
I'm sorry?
How much would it cost on a single, application? Would it pass along? How much, would we have to take on above the normal cost? Do you have any idea?
I don't have a definite idea to give you even a general estimate. I just know our permit costs so much and this year I think a little bit more than that.
Okay,
But we're passing through all of the costs, correct? No?
No,
You said we're not.
partial.
Partial.
Not all stuff like, cause again, we were doing this in-house, we just don't have anybody in-house currently certified to do it.
It's more of an interim.
I don't mind.
Just an interim thing.
Hopefully, but yeah, hopefully we can get a building official and get somebody. If not, then we may come back and look at adjusting the fee for it.
Alright. Next, we're gonna go to number 2 and discuss the financing for the volunteer fire department ladder truck and our street improvements that we discussed last time, the auxiliary improvements. So, Craig and I had a meeting this afternoon, he's, once again, put a whole lot of thought into this, so I'm gonna let him go ahead.
Okay, so last meeting we talked about the best interest rate we could get would be to issue COs for funding the ladder truck, and I also mentioned rolling in some utility debt for that, because based on what we've got committed right now, we've got other projects coming along, so we would do that. You all also asked to look at potentially adding some street costs to that. So I did go back to Jennifer Ritter with Specialized Financial, our folks who help us with our bond issues and everything, and asked them what was she comfortable with being the maximum we could issue in tax-supported debt that wouldn't get the rating companies too concerned about the size of it. he said we should probably keep it at 25 million or less, which was significantly more than I was expecting, but, the other thing we were waiting for was the preliminary appraised values to come in, and so those did come up. We did get 70 million in new construction, which was nice. That's by far the most we've had since I've been here. Total values were up about 123 million. So taking all that into consideration, rates are still kind of up and down. The most recent issue they did last week, they did one for Belton at 4.25. That's a little higher than you'd like to see. The concern is they're not going to get any lower. So if you want to do an issue, probably now would be the time.
Can it be renewed, Craig, if we take it to fourth quarter or whatever, can we?
You can refinance it after a period of time. You can't do it immediately.
Yeah.
It's usually built in the bonds. It could be 7 years or 8 years.
Oh,
10
so
years.
it's a long
You can
term,
do. Yeah, you can't just do it.
like any year.
Yeah, and you wouldn't want to anyway because the issuance costs are pretty significant.
Okay.
That are involved in debt issuance because there's a lot of lawyers involved and the attorney general's involved and the ratings with the bond company, or the bond rating companies and all that. So, but the concern is that rates aren't going to go down significantly anytime soon. The other issue we're up against is there's potentially state law changing. It's progressing through the legislature. If it passes come September 1st, we probably will not be able to issue COs anymore for tax-supported debt. Or if we do, the cost would have to go against the operation and maintenance rate, not the interest and sinking portion of the rate, which really creates additional headaches. So we have kind of a window here of an opportunity to do that. Looking at, when they send us the preliminary values, they send us an estimated value, what they think the certified amount will be based on properties that are already under protests and everything. So I took that and kind of figured out, and adjusting, for protests and things like that, it's estimated that each 1 cent increase in tax rate would bring about $162,000 in additional revenue. And based on 4.25% interest, $1 million for 20 years would be $75,300 would be the annual payment. So for each $1 million of tax-supported debt, the rate would have to increase 0.4647 cents, so less than half a cent for each. So and in the middle here, I just gave 3 scenarios. If you wanted to add an additional 10 million, it would go 4.646 cents more than what the current rate is. For 15 million, it would be 6.97, and for 20 million, it would be 9.29 cents more.
Hey, Destiny, can you pull up the very next to last page,
Yes.
like 151 or something? That's the page that he's got.
Yeah, it's just my staff report on this item. So we currently have about,
That one.
This one?
Yep, that one.
those are strict. So currently we have, we did the issuance last year for the John Bowden Parkway, and you all added some additional street money to that. So of that money, we have just a little over $5 million we can allocate towards other street projects besides John Bowden. So whatever we do here, we could do more. So what's on that list there is I took basically all of the collectors and arterials that are north of Moonlight Drive, where the majority of the population is at. And this would basically constitute pavement replacement on all those roads. This is not widening them, converting them to curb and gutter. I think that number is a little over 12 million. If you wanted to convert those all to curb and gutter, that number is going to probably quadruple.
But you said those are all already chip sealed. This would
Yeah,
take
all of those streets except for Old Robinson and let's see, Old Robinson and Glendale are chip seal streets currently. But they're also basically the primary roads everybody is traveling on to get to their neighborhoods or to get out to the highway or anything like that. So I took those numbers I gave you before, which was just pavement replacement, and I added a 25% contingency to cover engineering. This is not full-blown doing all new culvert crossings or things like that, or upsizing culvert crossings, reworking the existing ditches and things like that. But, just to do all those, you're looking at a little over $12 million, and that would get all of those roads, full length of Gregg, Newland from 77. Now, what's not in here is utilities, but that would be used utility bond money, not tax supported bond money. So I didn't include that number in there.
Let me ask you about Dillon. Dillon always seems to be rebuilt in some areas, it's so
Well,
out of
so what this
proportion.
would
Is that
involve
gonna be
is, the
regraded?
current road surface would either be stripped off or mixed in. We would remix the entire road surface to a certain depth, depending on what's there. It may be adding rock or road base, it may be, probably adding cement stabilization to mix in, recompacting it to a hard base, and putting 3 inches of asphalt on top. Now again, it's not curb and gutter, it's not lowering, if we start going into curb and gutter and all that, you're not only talking about drainage along the roads, you're talking about where does that water go? Right now, there's drainage exist for what, the existing width. The other problem we get into is almost every one of these roads has those right-of-way issues we talked about, where the properties are not platted, so if you wanted to reconstruct it, you would have to go and acquire all the right-of-way. And again, that number's gonna get real big, because I don't see too many people saying, yes, I'll give you, 25 feet of land, or,
I feel like I would.
so, well, and to be collectors and arterials, it's either, the right-of-way is 70 foot and 90 foot, so we would need significant.
I think people would just be happy having a smooth road to drive. I
Now,
would.
what's
So,
the,
45 years old.
what's the
Yeah.
prospective plan for Gregg Drive? Is that, would also be a regrade?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so one of the things that we found on Gregg Drive, where they're tying in John Bowden Parkway, they kind of cut the road back. Originally, they were gonna just tear it all out, rebuild it back up, strengthen it. But what they found is, once they got below the chip seal and a bunch of road base that had been put in, there is a black, it's not really asphalt, but it's like a black stabilized base about 4 inches thick. Seems to be intact. We don't know if it's just that section of road, or we don't know if it's the entire length of Gregg, so I've actually got the engineers are gonna get us a quote to take cores full length, which I know I can get 12 for $4,500. We already did that.
Right?
But we're gonna just take some cores full length, probably just every 1,500 feet, and then if it's continuous, that actually, we would probably strip it down to that and then rebuild it back up from that. If it's not continuous, we'll see if we can maybe preserve it in the areas, because having that kind of base under there is a plus. But, yeah, Gregg will be the same thing, we'll rework it, resurface it to full length and get away from chip seal. Because all these roads chip sealed, every time it rains like this, the potholes just start popping up everywhere. I mean, if you've driven on any of them the last 2 weeks, we had all the chip potholes filled, and there are already potholes everywhere again. So.
I know that you said that we would use the existing drainage, but would they do any, improvement to drainage, grading ditches and cleaning up?
Probably regrade the existing ditches to the existing grades, and we have some, like, we know on Gregg, there's several crossings that we need to replace the culverts that go under the roadway and stuff.
Yeah, I know there's several spots where the water pools and that just
Yeah.
chews up the chip seal.
Probably larger culverts in some areas.
Well, and the hope would be the roadway, of course, will be leveled out or be crowned the entire length. There's not much of a crown on Gregg right now, so water doesn't, if it's done properly and crowned, the water shall sheet flow off the road into the ditches.
And then it's just a matter of the ditches being deep enough to handle the metal.
Yeah, so in some cases, there may have to be some regrading of the ditches.
And and this may not be a part of it, that area just south of Flat Creek, that small tributary, little creek that crosses it by the lift station, that floods there tremendous with that area we upsize. Culverts underneath?
Yeah, that's an area we would look at upsizing there.
Yeah, 'cause that, I know that.
I don't know that's gonna ultimately, I mean, I doubt we could do anything that's gonna handle a 100-year storm,
Yeah.
but we could definitely put bigger culvert. I mean, that's about where we're talking about in the future, that connection to 35 going. And that will hopefully be funded in the future from the TERS, but that would include a lot of drainage improvements in that area, because that creek flows through there.
If I understand correctly, Waco and the developer have just agreed to fund the other side of that,
Well, we
going
have,
35
we
back
have
to back
we have some property owners over there that there might be some discussions about trying to. Because if we could do something, working with a developer, where developer picks up costs and we pick up costs, we might get it done quicker. We just have to see. There's a lot of uncertainty in the economy right now, so I think a lot of things are tapping brakes a little bit, but we've had some discussions. So there's potential there, but the long-term, the long-term plan is ultimately as the TERS develops out and the revenue stream becomes available, which will not happen probably for some years in the future, it's to take the section from John Bowden Parkway where it'll connect to Gregg all the way to that new section and widen that and do that as a concrete curb and gutter road with drainage. But again, that section from there to there, I would be surprised if that happens in the next 15 years, just because of the other challenges and things we have coming at us. And so the thought is if we can get Gregg improved to a good surface, the next priority would be making the connection to 35. And then the last section would be the section from John Bowden to the new connection.
Great with
That would create a
Curving
circulation of vehicles, so they don't have to, vehicles wouldn't have to go all the way down Gregg and try to make that, they'd either have to turn down industrial and work their way around back to the highway, because they can't make that right
That's
turn
too
at
hard to turn.
Cemetery.
Dude, I can't make that turn. I've almost fallen off a million times.
But yeah, so again, this plan here just upgrades all of those roads listed,
So
to
just-
asphalt.
So it's just for sake of saying, like we talked about today, when he said, they said up to 25 million, and the number that we talked about today was 2.5 million for the fire truck and 15 million for the roads. So at 17.5, we figured out just shy of 8 cents,
Yeah, it was just under 8 cents.
and that would give us $20 million to fix
Yeah.
roads.
So we could theoretically do these and then take on some of the residential streets that we have.
So the other 8 million between 17 and 25 would be in reserve? We could-
No,
No, we're not doing, there's
Just
17.5.
Just 17. Got it.
yeah, because we already,
You go up to
we
25.
already have about 5 million. So if we did that, pay the fire truck, we'd have an additional 15, that'd give us about 20. If we did a little over 12 here, that's gonna leave us about 8 to put towards some of the neighborhood streets. And again, there's more than 8. We've talked about, we're probably 40, 50 million total. But I think if we could get all the main roads that everybody drives on to get to and from their neighborhoods, and then from there, then go into the neighborhoods and pick the next round of the worst streets, which they're not hard to find. And
A lot
try
of
to
catching up to do.
knock as many of those out as we
Like
can.
years.
Do what now?
So we got a lot of catching up to do
Yeah.
now for neglect that happened 40, 50 years ago,
Yeah.
over the last 40, 50
Yeah.
years. I think people need to understand that.
Well, and the thing is that
Prior to,
whatever we do, if we don't do anything now, it's just gonna cost more in
yeah,
the future.
true.
I mean, 2 of you were on the council when we first started this. When we first started, we were talking about asphalt reclamations on streets for somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 a linear foot. And we're now up to $150 a linear foot.
I mean, Gregg drives at like $1,300,000 a mile. It's a 2-mile street, right?
3 miles.
Yeah.
Greg is-
Kalinka's like
Gregg
a,
is 3.1.
Well, I should give myself credit. I used to run Gregg all the time. I ran a little more than I said I did.
That's 3.1.
And that doesn't include,
Man,
but I'm telling you, the bridge is obviously not included in there.
Gregg is 15,900 linear feet, so just under 3 miles.
Like, you stayed at a steady pace of jogging, like, the whole time? Good for you.
I used to run.
And this
That was
does,
20 years ago.
You get old,
and this
That's
does
it.
include resurfacing the entire length of Old Robinson from Loop 340 to Moonlight. I know we've got the section, we desperately probably also need to look at the section from Moonlight south, but again, that would, I think, fall into that. One of those streets we would probably look at adding for the remainder of the funds that are available.
And so that's probably 40 to 45% of our street list that you presented a couple months ago.
For this amount of money with these
20.
plus some of the residential,
I think you're not saying number of streets, the amount of.
In terms of money, because we're
I said
estimating 32 million with the
Yeah.
alternates plus engineering plus.
in
route
today's
wiring.
dollars.
In today's dollars, so that's probably a 50 million on the high end.
first started talking about this and started pricing it out in 17, we were talking about 30 to 32 million to do all 55 streets. And then we did $12 million worth, and now we're up to between 40 and 50 to do the rest.
That is, kick the can.
Yeah.
Stop.
Well, the other thing is, you can't do them all at once. You can't, like, we can't even do all these roads at one time. If we took on every one of these roads at the same time, there'd be lots of unhappy people.
If someone asked that question, just out of curiosity, how long do you think it would take to do that list? 5 years? 3?
No, I don't think it'd take that long. We'd probably try to knock out 2 at a time, just separate them, so that we're not in this, all in the same area. I mean, Greg is, we could maybe do Greg and try to do one of the other streets. And the reason I have, Lindale on here, and again, this is just resurfacing Tate, it's not, but Lindale is already a very wide curb and gutter street that leads into the schools, and it's kind of reaching the point where something needs to be done with it. It's starting to degrade just because of age. It's probably one of the better streets, but over time, hopefully it can become the main point of ingress egress into the schools, especially if they ever do get a bond and they build something in the future. And so it just makes sense to
So you probably
encourage.
take between Old Robson Road and the baseball field probably in the summer, then you can try, right?
Yeah, yeah, and doing projects like this where we're just resurfacing, it's not gonna take as long as the reconstructions we've done, where we've had to tear out all the curb and gutter and put in all new curb and gutter and all that kind of stuff. I mean, typically, these kind of projects, I would think they could typically do, 45 days. We used to do similar at my last city, and we could do a mile in 3 weeks, with a contractor.
Good material.
Yeah. But so, it's doable. It's the same thing we've had since I've been here, and the city's had, is having the money to do it. There's not a problem we can't fix with money.
Such is life.
Most things.
So,
Yep.
we'll just take that discussion, and when that comes up at the end tonight, we can decide where we want to send that discussion. How about that?
And as far as timing, if we do want to move forward with the CO, we have to move forward with the CO issue at least for the ladder truck, and like I said, adding some utility money to that. If you want to add a street component, we still have the next meeting, but the latest we can do this and get everything closed before the end of August would be that we'd have to have it on the June meeting to start the process.
How long does the notice have to be out?
45 days. So the plan is we would publish notice in June, council would vote to approve the sale the first meeting in August, and then we would close and take the funding before the end of August.
So we had talked about, in that street discussion, town halls, getting, people together is.
You're not gonna, for this,
That timeline is too
no,
high.
that was, I think, more designed toward if you want to have a bond election. Which you would probably need to do to ultimately accomplish the rest of the streets. Because I think after September, you're only gonna be able to issue debt with a bond election. In fact, you may have to have a bond election, it may have to get 60% to pass.
Take it back to
Mhm.
CEO.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 6:25, so the other 5 things that we had tonight are all public hearings. So we won't make anybody do their stuff more than once tonight, so, and, I think everybody did their homework on those anyway, so. Anyway, with that, we'll go ahead and dismiss until 6:30.
oldest is, just finished her
Who's dealing with
freshman year at UT, and then I have a sophomore that'll be a junior, and a sixth grader.
One more.
She is about
Jimmy
to.
stays ready.
The Reverend Rogers.
Two and three.
I know.
Well, you know, they
She
should
had
work
3.9.
pretty for
She's
us.
very bummed, She's very upset, she didn't
That's
before.
what, we only need to start.
She's UT Cal.
They're probably not gas.
No joke.
That's the unfortunate part. That's for sure.
It's one of those, and she took an advanced calculus, both of the calculuses. She probably shouldn't have done that.
I'm gonna have to have you on number 2.
Oh, no worries.
I'm just warning you. Okay, it's 6:30, we will call the meeting to order. We have a quorum and everyone is present. We do not have a local pastor here with us tonight to give the invocation, but we do have our city council pastor, Reverend Rogers. So if you'll stand and he'll give our invocation.
Let's bow our heads. Father, thank you for this day. We just thank you for all the blessings you give us. Thank you for the rain that we perceive. Father, we just ask that you would protect our first responders, our police, our fire, EMS, Father, protect our military. We just lift up our staff to you, Father, that you would just be with them as they go about their day and doing the work of the city, Father. We ask for your guidance tonight. We ask for wisdom, and it's in your Son's holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
She was like, I got this.
Roll call.
Present.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Now is our time for citizen comments. The city council invites citizens to address the council on any matter, including items on the agenda, except public hearings that are included on the agenda. Comments related to public hearings will be heard when the public hearing starts. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes. The council is not permitted to take any action or discuss any item that is not on the agenda. When called to speak, please state your name and address, and if speaking on a specific agenda, state the item before beginning your comments. Ms. Vaughn from the chamber, you're up.
Sir, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come and address the city council. I come on behalf of the chamber to bring announcements to you about what is up and coming with the chamber. First of all, our monthly board meeting will be next Tuesday, the 13th at noon here in City Hall. We invite you all to attend. It is an open meeting and everyone is welcome. Our next quarterly networking luncheon will tentatively be July 31st with a speaker from MCC on corporate training. That should be a good event. We'd love to have you come and join us for that. We are currently working with Fox 44 KWKT on a project called Our Town Robinson. Some of you may be asked questions about that to give history and stuff like that. It is going to be broadcast on July the 7th, and it's going to be broadcast live from someplace here in Robinson, so that'll be exciting. They want to present Robinson in a positive light. The next thing is our annual membership banquet coming up July 17th. We're accepting sponsorships, donations for silent options / casino betting prize packages, and tickets are available to purchase online already. So all of that stuff, the sponsorships and the tickets can be done online through our website. We'll have a collaborative luncheon on September the 10th with the Bellmead Chamber. We would invite all of the city council, city managers, city employees, our chamber members, and the Bellmead Chamber members to come together for that meeting. It's going to be at their Civic Center And, last and certainly not least, we tentatively have a date of September the 27th for the first responder appreciation. We'll follow up with that and get a, definite date, hopefully soon. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I didn't get any more blue cards, so anybody have anything that's not on the agenda? All right, we have 2 presentations. Come on, you got volunteers. Chris, Whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the City of Robinson Police Department. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, there are currently more than 24,000 law enforcement officers in the United States that have been made the ultimate sacrifice of being killed in the line of duty. And whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved in the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 37th Annual Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th, 2025. And whereas the Candlelight Vigil is part of the National Police Week, which we observe this year, May 11th through 17th, 2025, and whereas May 15th, 2025 is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and whereas across the nation, Police Week is observed with the ceremonies, including the hanging of a blue bow on ribbons, to honor law enforcement officers who have sacrificed their life in the line of duty, and to honor those who still strive to keep us safe. Therefore, I, Greg May, Mayor of the City of Robinson, Texas, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2025 as Peace Officer Memorial Day, and May 11th through 17th, 2025 as National Police Memorial Week in Robinson, Texas, and encourage all citizens to express their deep appreciation to the men and women who risk their lives to guard and protect us. Now you have to
Graduation.
You did, you graduated. Okay, who gets this one?
Chris, are those your keys?
Chris.
Are those
Your keys.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Everybody's voluntold today.
Your badge and your gun, please. He thought he was asking for his badge and gun.
Alright, here we go. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, highly quality life, and well-being of the people of Robinson, Texas. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it's in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children of Robinson, Texas to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest in understanding the importance of public works and public work programs in their respective communities. Whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Be it now resolved, therefore, I, Greg May, Mayor of the City of Robinson, Texas, do hereby recognize May 18th through 24th, 2025 as National Public Works Week, People, Purpose, Presence in the City of Robinson, Texas, and I urge all citizens to acquaint yourselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the valuable contribution these public work professionals make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Thank you. She says, you can't do anything what she says.
Yeah.
And we're good.
Thank you. One day they're gonna figure out how to make those longer. All right, let's go to our consent agenda. We have two items. To approve the minutes from the April 15th regular city council workshop and meeting. And number 8, to take action on approving the resolution 2025-004R, authorizing our city manager to sign an amendment to the professional services agreement with Safe Built Texas LLC regarding elevation certificates and floodplain plan reviews and site visits. Need a motion?
Motion to approve items 7 and 8 on consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, to the regular agenda. Okay. We're gonna have 5 public hearings, so here we go. Glasses, sorry. 6:40, we will open the public hearing to conduct public hearing, consider and possible action on ordinance 2025-010, an ordinance of the city of Robinson, Texas, changing the land use from medium-density residential to commercial on .4329 acres located at 112 Deanna Street on McLennan County Appraisal District property, parcel ID 159844, Robinson Plaza, Lot 8, Block B. All right, David.
Thank you, Mayor. The item before you tonight is just a land use change at 112 Deanna Street. Presently, there's an existing commercial building on this site. The applicant is desiring to start a dentistry office at this location. In order for that to happen, the land use must be changed to commercial. And when you change the land use, you have to change the zoning as well. There's a commensurate RO, retail office zoning application after this item as well to fully change the zoning and the land use so they sync up together, but they are separate items on the agenda. This is the land use map here on the left. You can see inside the blue is the actual parcel itself. The residential land use category only allows for compatible residential zoning. So you have to change the land use to have a commercial use of that site. The area in red is actually commercial land use around that in that area. And there is residential land use to the immediate west, which is the yellow, which is the current land use for the actual site. The area in red is the actual commercial building that's under the residential land use. You'll notice as well to the west, there is a commercial building there as well that's under the same residential land use to the immediate east, which is to the right of the current location. So there's a commercial building existing already at that site and the site next to it. Pretty much this is a summary. The residential land use category covers the multitudes of residential zoning in our jurisdiction. Typically, it covers higher density like the patio homes or 2F, which is higher density, multifamily being the highest density or highest zoning density, and the lowest being SF1, SF2, and SF3. Proposed is the commercial land use category. This covers all of our commercial zones, all the way from RO, which is the least intensive commercial use, all the way up to C2, which is the most intensive. Within the packet itself, there's documentation. There are 7 criteria within the staff report as well. These criteria should be reviewed when doing a land use change. Those are within your packet. Staff italicized interpretations are with those. Those are staff interpretations. You can come up with your own interpretations in regards to these items. But we believe the 7 criteria for the land use change are met. It allows a commercial building on the site to be placed back into a commercial use, which will enhance the area. The area itself has commercial uses within it, as shown within your packet and on the slide as well. And there was complementary rezoning to this, which is retail office, which is the lowest commercial usage, which is the friendliest to nearby residential land uses and residential zonings. So based on the information within your packet, staff has no issues or concerns regarding this request for the land use change. This item went to Planning and Zoning Commission last week. They recommended approval of this 5-0. I'm here for any questions you may have. The applicant could not be at the meeting, so the applicant has provided a narrative there. So I can answer questions in regards to that narrative, but the applicant could not be here. They had to, basically, they're in Northern California right now, could not make it out. So, thank you.
All right, we will, since the applicant's not here, I'll make sure, is anybody else here to speak on this item? Okay, if not, we'll close the public hearing at 6:44. Questions from council? Any?
I have a question. I know we don't like to do like onesie, twosies of changing, like changing this to commercial, but the next lot over stays as residential. So can we not make them both commercial? I mean, I know that the application's just for that one lot, but just to,
We can, because the applicant's requesting the application for this, that's something that could be considered at a future time. Or at some point in the future, we could think of do an analysis and change these ourselves.
Okay.
Especially for residential and commercial.
right, okay,
They're different owners too?
They would,
Yes. So it would require the current owner would have
right,
to
to
request
apply,
it.
yeah.
Any other questions, council? I need a motion.
I got it. Motion to enact an ordinance for project number A 25-0009, changing the land use from low-density residential to commercial on 0.4329 acres located at 1112 Deanna Street, McLennan County Appraisal District, property parcel ID number 159844, Robinson Plaza Lot 8, Block B.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm gonna get the second.
Don't worry, there's gonna be plenty.
Yeah. Just start.
Okay.
Right,
At 6:46, we will open a public hearing to consider impossible action on ordinance 2025-011, an ordinance of the city of Robinson, Texas, changing the zoning map from two-family residential district 2F to retail office district RO on .4329 acres located at 112 Deanna Street on MCAD parcel number 159844, Robinson Plaza, Lot 8, Block B. David?
Rezoning, for 112 Deanna Street, please. We just heard the land use change for this item. This is the rezoning for this item. Basically, right now, we have a 2F zoning, which is a duplex zoning on the site. You've changed the land use to commercial. Now there's a commensurate rezoning application to change this to retail office. There is RO zoning to the south in the light pink area there. The darker pink is actually C1, which is a higher commercial intensity, so that zoning is within this area. As I said earlier, 2F covers duplex type developments. It does not cover the commercial building that's on the site, so in order to allow commercial use at this site and match the land use that's currently commercial, you have to do a commercial zoning, which 2F is not it. But what is it is the retail office category, which basically allows day-to-day needs, offices, medical offices, that sort of thing, which is kind of personal service needs, the best fit in putting in a residential, within a residential area or near a residential area. When you do a rezoning, you change uses. Within your packets, you actually have the full list of additions, subtractions, and changes that are occurring with the rezoning from 2F to RO. As you can see here, the green covers medical offices, clinics would be added, banks, savings, loans, large, not really large scale, but moderate scale commercial uses that could go within that zoning category. Office, professional, general, of course. And with the types of uses that could go into the zoning, staff feels it's not detrimental to this area. And you can see the residential zoning, or residential uses would be subtracted with the commercial zoning, because you can't do residential in a commercial zone. As shown here, that when you change zonings as well, there are different development standard requirements. What's highlighted in yellow is what would be changing. In analysis and review, we feel that these changes from a staff standpoint would not be detrimental to the area or the site. Under the city code, you have 5 findings of fact for a rezoning that you have to take into consideration. Those are within your packet. Staff has provided an italicized interpretation of those within your packet, but you're free to come to any decision in regards to it. We believe that the findings of fact are met because this will allow for a commercial building to be placed back into use, which will enhance the area. The RO zoning is the most compatible commercial zoning when residential zoning is nearby. and the surrounding areas also have the same zoning. With that said, staff has no issues or concerns with the request. You've approved the land use to commercial, so you don't have a situation where this would be in conflict. When you rezone this to RO, if you decide to do that, the land use and zoning will sync up. And with that said, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item as well, and they recommended approval of this 5-0. And that is the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? Then I'll close the public hearing at 6:50. Questions from council?
No, sir, but a motion if you may.
Yes, go right ahead.
Motion to approve ordinance 2025-011, an ordinance of the city of Robinson, Texas, changing the zoning map from two-family residential district 2F district to retail office district RO on .4329 acres located at 112 Deanna Street on MCAD parcel ID 159844, Robinson Plaza Lot 8, Block B.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
None.
All right. Now, 6:50, open public hearing to consider and possible action on ordinance 2025-012, an ordinance of the city of Robinson, Texas, changing the land use from commercial to low-density residential on .879 acres located at 1404 South Robinson Drive on McLennan County Appraisal District Property ID 157057, Martinez M, Tract 10, acres .879. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Presently on this site, there's the existing residential building. The land use change to residential will allow that applicant to improve the building on site, hence the request. There's a complementary rezoning application after this item to the SF1 zoning category as well, just to make everybody aware of that. The area within the blue is where the parcel in question is. As you can see, it has a commercial land use on the land. The residential land use would allow for a future residential zoning on this site. And you can see the residential land uses do exist to the immediate east of it and the subdivision development behind it. Just to give a brief overview, commercial land uses allow all of our commercial zoning categories, all the way from our retail office all the way up to C2, which is the higher commercial category. Residential land uses allow lowest standard or lowest density for residential, which is SF1, all the way up to basically multifamily 2, which is our highest density for residential. Within your packets, there are 7 criteria from the Community Visions 2034 that you need to consider when changing the land use. Those 7 items within your packet, within the staff report. The staff interpretation is with those. You're free to come up with your own interpretations in regards to these items. But we believe these findings of fact are met because the residential building will be placed back in use, which will enhance the area. And the area itself has residential uses within the immediate area. Based on the information within your packet, staff has no issues or concerns regarding the request. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item last week and they recommended approval 5-0. And that ends my staff report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Applicant is here.
Anyone like to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing at 6:53. Questions, any from council?
I have none.
Motion?
Make a motion approval, ordinance for A25-002, changing the land use from commercial to low-density residential, located at 1404 South Robinson Drive, McLennan County. Property ID number 157057, tract 10.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving to the next one. All right, at 6:54, we will open a public hearing to consider and possible action on ordinance 2025-013, an ordinance of the city of Robinson, Texas, changing the zoning map from retail office district to single-family residential district, 12,000 square feet, SF1 on McLennan County Appraisal District Property ID 157057, Martinez M, Tract 10, acres, .879.
Basically, this is the SF1 zoning change for the site that you just heard, the land use change to residential. Making it SF1 will allow the residential land use and the zoning to sync up together. There's residential building on site. You can see the site there, it has an RO zoning on it. What they would be changing to is SF1, which is within the area. Retail office district is a lower end commercial zoning use, particular category that has lower end commercial uses designed for neighborhoods. SF1 basically is the lowest density standard for residential. It allows for single family homes. With any rezone, you have to consider what uses are gonna be added, subtracted, and changed. Basically, this just gets rid of all of the commercial zoning, allows residential, the entire package within, or the entire list is within your packet. Of course, single family detached is added. Standards change based between the RO and the SF1. You can see in yellow, those are the changes. These changes are minor in nature. Staff does not feel it's a detriment to the area and the surrounding uses. Within section 332 of the city code, you have 5 findings of fact you have to consider when doing your rezoning. Those are within your staff report. Staff has provided an italicized type, the interpretation of those. You're free to come up with your own interpretation. But basically, this allows a building to be placed back in use, which will enhance the area. The surrounding area has residential zoning as well, and you just changed the land use from commercial to residential. So this will allow residential zoning to sync up with it. Staff has no issues or concerns with it because you've approved the land use change already. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this 5-0 at their meeting last week. That concludes my presentation, and thank you.
Anyone here to speak on this matter? We will close the public hearing at 6:56. Questions to council or a motion?
Motion. I make a motion to enact an ordinance for project number A 25-0025, an ordinance of the city of Robinson, Texas, changing the land use from commercial to low-density residential on 0.879 acres located at 1404 South Robinson Drive on McLennan County Appraisal District property, ID number 157057, Martinez M. Tract, 10 acres, .879.
Second.
Tract 10 acres, .879, excuse me.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. One more to go. All right, 6:57, we will open a public hearing to consider impossible action on ordinance 2025-014, an ordinance of the city of Robinson, Texas, for a specific use in order to allow for office professional general as a use in the agricultural zoning district on 11.9 acres located at 450 Youngblood Drive, also known as McLennan County Appraisal District property ID 157072, the Martinez M Tract 4A and .18 AC A-band row, acres 11.9. What a mouthful. All right, Dave.
Thank you, Mayor. As you can see, it's not a land use change or rezoning this time. It's a specific use permit. And the reason for this is, basically the applicant's proposing basically roughly 7,000 square foot general professional office use. And what this building will do is basically house the C-suite for Johnson Roofing and J&B Developments. It's gonna be on the south end of the property. The reason they need a specific use is because the AG zoning category requires a specific use permit to be granted for office professional general. As you can see here, it's an ag area, largely agricultural in nature. The surrounding uses are industrial and commercial in nature up towards the, if you look at the area where it says warehousing and offices, so you have commercial uses already on that parcel at the end. And also, you can notice that the residential is significant distance away from that as well. Youngblood Road itself is a private roadway. Within your packet, they've provided an analysis to indicate whether that private system can handle heavy traffic, like a fire apparatus coming up the road for safety and that sort of thing. They've had an engineer certified letter with an analysis that indicates this road system that they have, private road, can handle fire trucks and heavy vehicles going up it. This is the site plan showing the site. You can see there's gonna be a concrete drive that comes off of Youngblood Road, and it's gonna be just basically an office building. This is the general site layout. This is the actual floor plan. It's a 2-story building, 6,891 square feet of professional office. Right there. Now, with the specific use permit, there's always, with all these items, there's always findings of fact. Under 354 of the code, basically you have to consider those findings of fact when considering whether to approve or deny a use. And we believe that the request is not detrimental to the area. We have surrounding uses as shown on the screen and within your packets as well, that there are larger, higher intensity uses. The lower intensity uses are further away from this site. Youngblood Road can accommodate emergency vehicles. Use is a professional office. We don't expect any nuisance-related issues. It's general professional office, which is one of the more friendly commercial uses to have. And the development itself is close to US 77, which is an arterial roadway in its own right. Now, under 355 of the city code, you can impose any reasonable conditions necessary to protect interest, welfare, and the like. And some of those items there, you can take into consideration the welfare, protection of adjacent properties from noise, offensive views, property values, other undesirable or hazardous related conditions. And based on the information within your packet, staff has no issue or concern regarding this SUP request. At the May 1st meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this item 5-0. That concludes my presentation, and the applicant is here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Would you like to speak on behalf, or good? Anyone? Does anyone have any questions? Motion?
Do you close the public hearing?
Oh, I didn't close the hearing. Sorry. There are too many. I did really good.
There's a lot, you did.
Okay, close the public hearing at 7:01. I'm sorry. Now, can I have a motion?
Motion to enact an ordinance for project number A25-0013, a specific use to allow for office professional general as a use in the agricultural AG zoning district on 11.9 acres located at 450 Youngblood Road, also known as McLennan County Appraisal District Property ID 157072, as stated.
Second is motion.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Done.
Thank you.
All right, so all of those out of the way, we will go back to our discussion on the financing for the ladder truck and the street improvements. Okay, where we left off in the workshop was the discussion of 17.5 million on a CO. 15 million would be used for the roads, 2.5 million would be used to finance the ladder truck. 15 million for roads would add to the 5 million we already have to do $20 million in improvements. Now we're facing a time crunch.
Yeah, and also we would still recommend adding the 8 million for utilities.
Utilities.
Yes.
That's just not tax supported, that'll be paid for with utility revenues.
Okay. So that has to be added in with all that too, or dealt with at the same time.
Yeah, it would all be done as one CO.
So I guess here, my first question is, does anybody have any more questions regarding it? Let's go here. Is that, how's everybody on the $17.5 million number?
Wait, so is it 17.5 plus 8?
Well, the 8 is debt supported, so it will not impact the tax rate.
Okay.
So the
But
to-
under the
total-
same-
Yeah, the total CO would be the, what would that be?
25.
Yeah, 25.5, but only 17.5 would be tax supported.
Yeah, okay.
The rest of it would be supported by utility revenues.
Gotcha.
So Jennifer's recommendation was to stay under 25 for the tax supported portion.
Oh, okay, okay, that makes
Yes,
sense, yep.
So this stays under that.
That brings me to a question I wanted to ask you.
All right, Charlie never disappoints.
Never. I guarantee you. Gotta be thorough, man. So, in your opinion as our city manager, do you feel that 17.5 million is enough? Since we could potentially go 25 million and everybody's wanting the streets done, or at least it seems like majority of the people in our city want them done. Is this a possible opportunity for us to not pass up, since the law is gonna change, as you stated, so that we can't do COs on it? Would it be feasible, and should we consider more than 17.5 million in your opinion?
And that's my same question.
Good
Yeah,
question.
me too.
No, good question.
The more money we have, the better. I mean,
I think, because the only thing I'm thinking when we were down there, there were several comments of, that's what happens when you kick the can.
Mhm.
Yes,
Oh, no,
yeah,
no,
no,
I agree.
So,
I agree. Yeah, and I'll talk to Jennifer some more just to make sure she's comfortable. You know, the only thing I'd be concerned about getting all the way to the 25 is if it concerns the bond rating companies, because we really don't want them to lower our bond rating.
And that's what we need from you, is to
Yeah.
know what can we stay under that for, but then also what could we, you know the day-to-day of everything, so what could we reasonably decide on a dollar amount that would work for the city and get some stuff done that needs to be done and not overdo it. I think that's what I personally would like to see a recommendation from you and your staff on that before we decide,
So-
personally.
And I'll play devil's advocate. I'm pro street. I'm pro do as much as we can. I'm not opposed to adding more dollars to the street figure, but I guess counter that thought with what happens if we have an issue where we need to go out in an emergency and get more money for another tax-supported debt? This, as proposed, gives us the ability to go out for the unforeseen item without damaging our tax rate, or our credit rating. It gives us a little cushion, so that's the other side of that. So
But didn't you say as of September 1st, this option's off the table?
I mean, that's the way
Possible.
the session's going right now. It won't know for sure until it passes. The goal is to eliminate our ability to issue COs. There's other bills. The bill that has the most momentum, if you read I sent you a while back, the links to the, TML
Sure.
legislative, if you're following that. It's House Bill 19, that's the one that seems to have momentum. There's other bills out there there's another bill that takes away what you can issue them for, like you won't be able to, this bill still lets you issue COs for streets and public safety facilities and things. It's just, it would go against the O&M portion of your tax rate, which is capped at 3.5%, so. You know, a debt issue would eat up any potential revenue you could have for funding operations. But, the other option that's out there is you would only be able to issue COs for state, federal mandated requirements or in response to a disaster.
So the purpose of that is to make us have voters to approve what we're doing, right? In other words, you said earlier that
Yeah,
we
I
could possibly
agree,
require
except that-
60%.
Except there's also a bill out there to raise the threshold to approve it to 60%,
That's what-
which in essence means
you-
they don't want you to issue debt.
So my concern would be this, as a 45-year resident here, what I've seen is kicking the can down the road for 45 years. And I wasn't a part of that. I didn't want to do that, but I had one vote. So, I don't know, I see, on one hand, we see comments from people that want things done, and they want it, but yet they don't want to spend the money. So you want better schools, but now you've got these people that come together and say, we don't want that because we don't want our taxes to go up. So I guess as a council, we have to decide this, don't we? That do we want to approve the money to get this stuff done that's needed to be done? Or do we want to kick the can down the road again and decide, to find out if enough people would vote for it to be done? And I think that's our decision, personally.
I just have a comment. You know, I've been on the council for an awful long time, and we've always had Jennifer Ritter as our financial advisor. She has never done us wrong and allowed us to overextend ourselves in any direction at all. If she says 25, she's taking into account a lot of the options that we're discussing right here and now. And I think her 25 is her upper limit. If she says 25, that's what we stay at. I've never been dealt wrong by her decisions.
So here comes my question. So-
Can I answer a couple of others?
Yeah, go ahead, let's go.
They're
I want
stacking up
this,
here.
yeah, I want
They're
this,
stacking-
yeah, come on.
So going back, so a lot of what you're talking about, that's why we keep fund
Me or him?
balances. Yeah, I'm talking to Jim,
Jimmy.
so that's for fund balances and things like that.
This legislation that's looming has been looming for a number of sessions.
Yeah, but this is the first time it's had this momentum, and, my discussion with Jennifer, she thinks some form of House Bill 19 is going to pass, and she is strongly recommending that if your intention is to do COs, to get it done before September 1st. She's pretty adamant about that, and stuff I've been reading and other things, now TML's out there pushing, saying, this is gonna kill cities and this and that, but we have people in the legislature saying they know better than you do what's for your community.
Cause they're worried more about passing the meme restrictions on political AI than, Worry
The
about the
mayor and I
city.
had lunch with Judge Felton last week, and he was telling us about sitting down with a member of the legislature, and the person basically telling him that they know better than the people at the local level what's best for the people in the community.
We've had enough of that.
So-
For about 40
So that's
years.
what you're up against, is that mindset, and that's new, that's been coming on, but, I mean, I've been in city management for almost 20 years now, I've been in city for 40, but in actual positions for almost 20. And this is the most momentum I've seen in this kind of bills moving forward. Typically, they might get out of committee, but they don't ever get to the floor for a vote, or if they do, they get shot down pretty quick, but usually they get killed in the committees. This one is gonna move to the floor, and there's a companion bill in the Senate to go with it, which moves it along. There's another one on expenditure limits. It does not have a companion bill in the Senate, so hopefully it'll die on the calendar, in the calendar committee, but this one has momentum, and that they just keep coming at it every year that, you can't issue debt, pay as you go, but now they wanna say, but we're gonna limit your ability to pay as you go by putting caps on there too, so. But it just basically comes down to is, they don't want you spending money on stuff. They know better for Robinson than you guys do. That's kind of the mindset we're dealing with right now, so will that change? I hope. But, that's kind of where we're at in that part of it, and I don't,
so the Master George is, talking about the 25. Back to how we arrive at 25. Does the utility money, does the 8 million have to be inside the 25, even though it's not
No,
tax supported?
no,
So,
that's
so
20.
now the question is, can we take the 17.5 million to 25 million and then add the 8 million
Yes.
on top?
Yep.
Okay, so
And-
then, because 8 million doesn't affect getting
right,
to
the 8
25.
million's not tax supported. She set the limit for tax supported at 25 million.
In that scenario, we still have the 5 that we have currently. That's 30 million. Is the truck coming out of that 30 million?
Yes.
So it's 28
Well-
million.
No, 25 million less 2.5 million for the trucks, so 22.5 plus
Plus
5.
5 would give us 27
27
and a half. Or 27.
Likely 50% of our street list.
Yeah.
So we're still kicking the can down the road on half our streets. That still happens.
But we're forced to kick the can because we can't,
We don't have an
it's
option.
not safe to
not do
borrow
it.
any more money.
We do have an option whether we go 17.5 or 25. I'll
So
put
it's-
mine.
I kinda
mine
think
on the
everybody here
line to
thinks
say
we're
that
gonna
we
go to
need to do.
25.
It
Is there
changes-
anybody up
look
here
at
that
this,
doesn't
changes
think?
your 40 to 50.
What?
Yeah, and that really was, is the
Say
number
that again.
40 or is it 50? We don't know that, so.
So is everybody up here now in agreement that we should look at the full 25 million?
What's that tax rate now
What-
looking at?
11.6175 cents.
So
That's
it's
3 cents more than what we were talking about earlier. 8 was 8 was the figure you
Yeah, it was
gave us
just
earlier.
under 8.
It was just
before, so-
7.6, I think.
So it's now 11.
So it's 11.6, but you just added another $7.5 million to it, which makes it, and again, I think that we've got
How
to
much
take.
per household are we looking at approximately?
Let me go back over here.
It was that before.
Yeah, I
A
have-
million.
It's
I have the
$15
per
a year.
million.
Go ahead.
For some reason, my screen is not showing the right stuff on it. Where you go?
Let's see.
Let me get back to, I actually have it so I can figure it real quick. I just gotta pull it up. I can't see it over there. It is, go away. So for each million of debt issued, it would raise on an average, so the upcoming fiscal year, the average homestead value is $326,000. That's an average. So, on an average homestead, each 1 million of debt issued would increase taxes $15.19 a year.
Each percentage point?
Each one.
Each 1 million.
Each
Each
1
1
million of
million.
debt issued would increase 15, so you'd be looking at.
300.
let's see,
An additional 8 million.
$380 a
$380
year,
average household per year
which would be $31.
to fix your streets.
You
Which would be
mean
30.
So are you-
basically what it was for the
I'm
school
asking you
bond?
this question. Are you, is that the whole 11 or 8? What's the difference between the 8 and 11? How much more going from 8 to 11 are we increasing people's taxes?
So go back to the 7.6 times
Times 8,
the,
Yeah,
right?
well, the other would be the,
See what I mean? Because it
no, no,
looks
yeah, you
like
go down to this.
we're taking the whole 360.
Well, it's gonna be the difference in 17.5 million.
Yeah,
It's
and
$15
approximately
And we're
a
saying
third.
per year, not,
per year,
not
Per year.
per month, so
per
there's
year.
No, yeah,
just clarifying on Brittany's comment, because the school bond was a monthly figure.
right, but how much did that end up being?
It was about 360, because $30 a month was the number they were giving,
Yeah.
so
were they doing a 30-year debt?
30-year debt.
They were doing, okay.
This is a 20.
I figure it's about
This is
108.
This is a 20-year, school bond was 30 years.
It's going to be about 108 to 120 dollars.
I have one more thought
per year
after.
more, just to go with the 8.
Let's get his number though,
Yeah,
Yeah,
wait,
You tell
after
me.
he gets the
So,
numbers.
I was going to say it's around 120
79.
a year
Basic calculator.
for 8 million.
So what are we looking at,
17
another 7.5 million?
17.5 million.
Yeah. So it's 265,
Versus 380, it's $115.
That's what I thought.
yeah.
So,
I still think the
If
25
I'm-
million is the number.
a citizen of this town, and I know we can get that much
380.
done.
380.
Me personally, I'm gonna say, yeah, I wanna do it, but
And what's that
with a
number?
caveat
25.
that I
It's
mentioned to
three-
you,
probably
Craig,
like
and that is that
329.
we substantiate what we're doing with it.
Oh, house.
I think we need to say,
How much
this
it?
is
Yeah, it's-
what we're doing with this
Yeah,
$8 million.
326 was the average
oh,
house.
that's right, yeah.
Need to be able to explain that.
Mhm.
I agree we need to do it.
So
I think
you would
we need
like him
let
to
them know.
update his spreadsheet to some more?
Well, I think the first thing we do is we can go through, and again, these are estimated numbers at this point. They could be a little bit less, they could be a little bit more.
Yeah.
Also timing, because again, we can't do every single one of these projects at one time. It's not feasible.
Well, true.
There's no contractors in this
All
area.
I
that
think,
can
all I
take
think a
on-
reasonable person's gonna wanna know is what am I getting for this 8 million, for this $115 a year? Which is negligible, obviously, to most people, 115. I mean,
Well, 380.
well, the 115 is
He's talking
the
about
difference
the average.
between.
Right, yeah.
Between 17.5
They
and
only wanna know the
25, so
number.
115 a year.
Yeah, but see, they don't know that.
Well, they can
They're just
know
gonna
it.
see the 380, they're not
Right.
even gonna consider the extra 115. What they're looking at is the bottom line final figure, and that's 380. They're gonna say, well, that's an awful lot of money.
That's $31.60 a month.
You know what I'm saying?
I just think there's no better opportunity.
No.
I agree.
Absolutely not.
They
I
caught
agree.
between a rock and a hard place
I mean,
at this point in
yeah.
time.
I
You
would
can't,
say.
you can't not, well, you know, plenty of folks said in the middle of what we just went through, they'd be happy to pay taxes to get the road fixed. Well, here we go.
That's why I keep hearing it.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, they elect us to represent them just like other representatives, and so now we're representing them. And if they don't like that, they can unelect me the next time. But that's my vote. That's my thought.
I agree. So, Craig, what do we tell you now? That we would like you to go and give us a recommendation based on $25 million that we can vote on, that we can go out on going forward on?
Yeah, if that's what you want. I don't need a vote tonight, I just need.
Well, I knew we
some
couldn't, but
discussion,
we have
so.
to have we get him to come back at the next meeting with here's how we say it to pass it, and we can put it out there to the public, and they're welcome to come sit in these chairs.
Tell
and
me
have
as a
conversation.
citizen what I'm getting for that. That's what I
And-
wanna know.
Yeah.
That's what I would wanna know if
We
I
can
was not
list-
me.
They're gonna be
can-
happy.
We can list a tentative list of projects.
Reasonable people should be happy,
They
but,
should.
you know, who's to decide what's reasonable? Because, you know, so, yeah.
I think you were saying that it might be more like, it could be like 24.8 because you don't want to go over that number, right?
Bring it to us.
Yeah, I'll get with Jennifer and confirm the number and go
Okay.
with the biggest, because she may back up and say, whoa, I didn't think you'd go anywhere near that number, I just threw that out there, and
And maybe we have a better rating than Belton. Maybe we get a 3 1/4.
So, well, the problem is the uncertainty that's out there right now.
And that's a good concern, that if it's a $500,000 or $1 million, that would not affect us. Jimmy's point's correct, that if we don't go over 24, okay, we won't go over 24 because we don't want to risk the rating. Consider that too.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah,
you guys
and I
do this
can-
every day, we don't, so we're depending
And I
on
can
you.
come up with a tentative list. We can sit down and go through the street ratings and look at the streets that are there and what can, because there are some that need to be reconstructed that are gonna cost a little bit more, but they're some of the worst streets. And we talked about this before. For those of you, let's see, you and Jim, you guys were on the council that day we did that drive around the city. Okay, so you guys remember what Brewster and all the streets
Oh.
like that?
Yeah,
Emberwood.
Emberwood.
It was amazing. People drove down those streets. They were so bad. None of our streets are that bad today, but we still have San Benito, all those neighborhood over there. That's probably a neighborhood that we have to reconstruct because those are all 40-foot wide, and we probably want to do like we've done and narrow those to 32. So that'll be a little more cost there, but we have another list of streets that we can easily go through there and say, you know, here's the priority, and based on the amount of number, we think as long as another COVID or something doesn't come along and double prices again in 2 years like this last time, this is what we realistically think we could get done with this amount of money.
A council road trip, we just go down those roads all together.
We did that.
And there would be,
We've
I
done
know,
it.
I went on a road trip with you, but,
Yep.
yeah, the one
Yeah,
with the most.
I think,
bumps.
tell them that, say, hey, look, we kicked the can down the road, and now look how much more it cost. What's it gonna be, question mark, a year, 2 years, 3 years from now? Obviously, it's gonna go up, it's gonna be
How much was the
inflated.
first school
Nothing
bond
goes
for,
down.
Jimmy?
One more time.
How much was the first school bond for?
34 million or something.
something like 35.
The 2011, 2012.
The 2019 one?
No,
It was
It
just
was-
three buildings for 50, under 60 million.
Yeah,
It's
so
been
that's
a
a
long
good
time,
idea.
but It was a
About how
new
much it goes up?
intermediate, a new junior high, and a performing arts center in 2011. That was the big one.
So, yeah.
Well, they
Double.
passed the intermediate somewhere in there, because they
That
were
was
just finishing that when I came
2014
to
or
work here.
15.
And we
In
could add,
19, they had another one, and that, I wanna say it was 35, 38
that
million?
was 38, I think.
38, yeah.
Yeah, so the intermediate was 20, just under 20, and then the failed junior high was under 40.
Yeah.
so we could add too that the average is 115, right? But that's a $360,000 house, so the people that make less and they have lesser property, they're
Yeah.
not paying 115. That's the average. So that's another thing to point out is, look, you may only be paying $40 more if you have a lesser
Yeah,
value real
I
estate, you
actually have a
make lesser money.
spreadsheet
So
that I
I mean,
make for budget that shows what the tax is based on thresholds, you know, 100,000, 110, 100. Of course, nobody has a $100,000 home, probably now I get started at $850.
Yep.
So, based on
In threes.
what we just
What?
discussed, and the timing of having to have this done so that we can take
Yep.
delivery of the fire truck,
Can't live without it, okay.
can,
When do we need
like,
to
do
vote?
you,
We
do we need this on the next council meeting?
Yeah, I can come back next council meeting and lay out, here's the streets that can be done and all that, and you can make a final decision. If you're good, I'll tell Jennifer, move forward, and we'll bring everything back first meeting in June.
Not wanting us to.
And so if we approve it in the first meeting in June, that's enough time to take delivery of
Yes.
the truck on time.
Yes.
Everybody go with that?
Yep.
So we'll plan on seeing this the first meeting in June.
For a vote.
Then we'll have some discussion on it once again.
You're talking about, we're gonna
Next
talk
meeting
about it in
May.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Talk
so
about
2
it.
weeks we'll have more discussion, you can bring your other questions.
Second one.
And then from there, we'll be able to go to the first meeting in June to pass something so that we can get, you know, we gotta remember the fire truck is like built, yeah, it's like pretty much out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we originally were planning on doing this in October with the new truck, but because of this, that's why we've moved up the date of it, because the feeling was if we wait till the original date, we may not be able to use COs to finance the fire truck.
Okay, any more questions on this matter? All right, anybody have anything that they would like to add to our future agenda for next time?
I have something that was brought to me, but it may just be a conversation with Craig at this point, so you just tell me if it's, but I was approached by a resident who works for a, company called Target Solutions, does fire damage, water damage abatements, things of that nature. And so they've got a program that, the city of Waco is utilizing with a different company, but also, City of Clean is utilizing, where they offer free board ups for any home or structure that catches on fire, regardless if they are used for any of the damage abatements. And I know I'm not explaining this super well, but anyway, it's a free service to those residents that have that unfortunate event happen. And so it was brought to me to look at if we're interested as a city of putting in, I'm assuming it's I don't know if it's a contract or it's by ordinance, a way to, how it works in those cities, to dispatch them when there is a confirmed structure fire. They would get a dispatch from either, I'm assuming our dispatch, there would be another call to dispatch. A team would come out and board that up. I just gave you like the 10-second synopsis of that conversation. It would work similar to how I believe our contract for towing is with Big Boys, is that right? Or
No, we don't have a contract.
we don't have a contract? Okay.
Who boards them
Some-
up now, like when that structure fire?
Homeowners
Okay.
are on their own. They would use companies like Target and Belfour and,
Would this be at the expense of the homeowner or us?
It's free.
so usually it's on the homeowner and their insurance company.
They're
to do
offering
so.
to do it free.
They're gonna do it for free, even if you don't use them for any other services beyond that. Now, again, it's a hook.
In the
Yeah, it's a
hopes
hook.
of,
It's a sales, it's a
So
sales.
we're already out here.
I said I would bring it forward, and therefore I have, but it may just be a conversation for Greg and I later.
Sure, we can talk about it. All right, anybody else?
I have something if y'all are done.
Yes?
So we have Pokios out today. We have 29 extra ice cream sandwiches in the freezer if you'd all like to
Oh,
grab
you
one.
really would be kidding.
I don't need it, but I'm gonna have it.
I got
She said they had ice cream
Make an
sandwiches.
exception.
So random, yeah.
What a
They're
sacrifice.
in a drawer, and they're in plastic bags. So.
You believe that, right?
Twist your arm up.
All right.
Yeah.
Say, leave a few
Can I
for
eat
the
a Kit
midnight
Kat
shift
with it?
guys, right?
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
Oh, man.
All right. 7:26, we're adjourned.